everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Sam Joseph. Today, we're very lucky to have comedian Imran Yusuf on the podcast. Hey, Imran, thanks so much for sharing your time with us.
どういたしまして。
Ah, Superashi this. Yeah, so we're going to be doing this whole podcast in Japanese, so strap in.
はい。
It's But yeah, and I've been following Pete Holmes's lead of just making sure my guests feel welcome and just Imran, it's great to have you on the podcast. I think you're very 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 funny.
Thank you.
I've
Thank
been
you.
really enjoying your comedy for some time. Yeah, and I guess we usually start with our guests' comedy origin story, but I imagine you've probably talked about that you're fed up to the
It's
hind
up to
teeth.
you, man. Like it's your podcast. Ask away, and I'm happy to. I'm happy to share. I'm fascinated. It's thank you for having me on your podcast. You have a PhD and you work in AI. So considering someone of your caliber, of your intellectual caliber, would want to talk to me makes me go, well, I might be doing something right with my life.
Yeah, well, you've got a wonderful crossover because I do know that you have a background in games, and actually, then the AI stuff is really fascinating thing to talk about. I think where that touches on comedy. But yeah, let's start with the comedy. I mean, I was just thinking, I'm really interested to hear about your comedy origin story. I'm also particularly interested to hear about the transition between because people start comedy and they do a bit of open mic and this, that, and the other, what have you. But then there's an almost bigger transition in some ways of saying like I'm going to give up the day job, I'm going to do it full time. So I'm really interested in both of those phase
Right. Okay.
transitions in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Okay, great. So where should we start?
Well, should we start with the? I mean, were you like were you making people laugh as a child with a family just cracking up and they were saying this guy's definitely going to be a comedian? What was going on?
Definitely was. So I'm the youngest of three.
Oh yeah.
My family are Ugandan refugees. However, I don't have any of that trauma because I came later. Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. I grew up even though I was born in Mombasa, I grew up in Hackney Downs and then in Harrow.
Right.
And primary school like life, and it was great. Had friends, we watched cartoons, we played with toys, and we had video games. So mostly on that front, I don't have any. Hey, the government's out to get me, and we all have to leave, and we can't take anything with us. So, but yeah, as a kid, I'm the youngest of three. I wasn't very studious. I was terrible at. I was terrible at, particularly at high school. But I was definitely the showy offy. Look at me, trying to make a spectacle of myself, trying to get attention.
Oh, okay.
I was definitely that kid. And in class, I was I was good at drawing. I became, I earned my stripes playing football in the playground. But also, yeah, I guess I was the funny, silly one. But also the irritating, annoying one that talked too much.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm immediately comparing it with myself. I was not very good at football, not very good at drawing. I was more of a sort of studious, academic-y type, but I was definitely the attention seeker who talked too much. So I think
right, great. So we have that. We have that in common.
Yes, and so what were there early signs that suggested that you might go? You were comedy curious.
I definitely want to. I guess I'd watch movies and go, I would love to, to do that. I think that there was a moment when I was in year 7, I was in the school play. I was in a school play. We did Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Oh yeah.
And I played the Mad Hatter.
Oh really?
And yeah, and I put on I put on such a, I really just put on this silly accent and these silly mannerisms. There was a bit of improvisation as well that happened on the night, and the parents all gave me a massive round of applause. And then after the show, we had this lady came in, and she was with do you remember the record of achievement? Do you remember that pointless folder?
Yeah.
So she introduced us to our record of achievement folder when we were 12. And she's like, this is where you put your certificates and your personal statement and all this. Well, before we all got to personal statements. And so she, for a few weeks, had been in our class talking to us about, getting us to focus on what do you want to do when you were, in high school, and what do you want to do when you grow up, right? I was like, I want to work at Nintendo. Like, I definitely want to work at Nintendo. And I remember after the show, and I had such a good, I had a great experience being the Mad Hatter. I did really well. I got an applause break for improvising a bit as well.
Wonderful.
And because what had happened is the other character, my friend Peter Donaldson, was playing the main character. That's not Alice. Was playing the boy who's trying to find Alice. Right. And what happens is that he's meant to exchange some money. We're meant to exchange, like, he's meant to give me some money, so I give him some hats. And I produced the hats out of my hat. So I'd taken my big top hat off that we had made, and I reached into it and I took out all these different hats, and that's the hat that I gave him. So what happened, I accidentally took 2 bits of money from him, 2 bits of money. And he went in front of everybody on stage. He went, "Oh, you've got 2 there," right?
Yeah.
But there's a mistake has been made. This isn't in the script. I've taken 2 bits of money instead of 1. And I just looked into the audience and went, "Oh, well, it was worth a try." and, you know, we're 12 years old and the parents really loved it. They saw that I improvised in the moment. But then, yeah, when after the show, as we're all like milling around talking to family and friends, that lady came up to me from the Record of Achievement people, and she went, "Well, I think we know where your future is headed. Like, we think,
really?
You know, obviously, you know, you found what you're good at and where you're headed." And that was the first time I think I felt validated as like I could be like a performer person,
right?
Like
right.
I could be, you know, an actor or something like that. Because being silly and saying silly stuff in front of people, it's great fun.
Right.
So I remember that was at 12, and so yeah, just I was definitely, hey, look at me, showy offy, trying to get attention. I was definitely that kid.
Yes,
like
yes.
Within reason.
Yeah.
You know, when I felt like, I guess I was cool enough to be that kid, because I wasn't always cool enough to be that kid. Yeah, and then as you get older and you're in your teens, the vibe changes, because then you're trying to impress girls, and of course teenage girls are not interested in anything right, anything apart from looking pretty and I guess, you know, and buying them food.
Well, or I guess I wanted to speak. I mean, I have some nieces who are teenage girls. I think often they're not interested in anything is a sort of a studious. They almost that they have to project that I'm not interested in anything, because to give away any impression of interest would be. I mean, it's complicated. Yeah.
But basically, you know, being a cute kid and showing off and doing stupid stunts and being silly works when you're in primary school, and then in high school not as much. I found anyway.
Yes. It's interesting with your story of the performance. I mean, I didn't have such a comedic one, but so I loved being in plays when I was at school, and I have a particular memory of Oliver Twist, where I tended not to get very big parts, and I always have this memory of in Oliver Twist that Oliver Twist has this sort of like evil brother who's like, I don't know, one of the villains or what have you. And there was a guy, Mark Hearn, who was playing this character, and I remember the teacher were doing like dress rehearsal or what have you, and the guy Mark Hearn, poor I don't know what happened to him, but every time he'd come in the room looking for Oliver Twist, he would like look. That he was told to look around the room. He'd like look up. You know, it's like a bit like the aliens in Galaxy Quest, where they're saying, "Where's my shoes?" And they're like, "Oh, no." So he would always be looking. And I remember sitting there in the audience watching, you know, the teacher give him notes saying, "No, you mustn't look up. You've got to. He's not going to be on this. He's not Spider-Man." And then so like, she got so sick of him doing it. I said, "Oh, I'll give it a go." And I just, you know, I was like, "No, I can do this. I can not look at the ceiling," and I got the part. And so it was just, you know, again, not so much being funny, but the ability to take notes, which is very, very important. But yeah, but so. I mean, I don't know if I got the same. Anybody noticing? I mean, I just always wanted to be talking, whatever was going else was going on. But so then, as I say, you as you get a bit older, you get a bit cooler. But I mean, of course, you went to work in the games industry first, so it wasn't like you immediately left school and said, "Right, I'm up for going to the circus or on the stage."
So what happened? I failed high school. I failed all of my GCSEs. I got kicked out of 2 of them, and so I hated high school. High school was a sadistic prison for me. The only redeeming feature of it was the friends that I made.
Right. Which one were you in, by the way? I mean,
I went to Hatch End. So I was actually meant to go to your high school. I know you're a little bit older than me. I would have gone to Whitmore.
Yes.
So what had happened? I was scheduled to go to Whitmore. I was all lined up to go to Whitmore. I bought the tie. I bought the badge. And then I went to America and ended up staying there. And because I stayed in America, I lost my place at Whitmore.
Oh,
and then when I came back to England, we're like, right, can I start year 9 in Whitmore? And they went, no, you've lost your place and you're now on a waiting list. And basically time ran out, and then I had a choice. You either go to Gayton or Hatch End, really. And I'm like, don't want to go to Gayton. It's all boys. Yeah, not my cup of tea. Even though it was closer. And in Hatch End, my cousin went to Hatch End, and then a few friends, most of my friends went to Whitmore, but a few of them went to Gayton. I think 2 or 3 went to Gayton, and about 3 or 4, including my cousin, went to Hatch End, and I
Right.
was like, I'll just go to Hatch End. It's further
Yeah.
away, but I'll
Well,
go to that one.
I wanted to go to Hatch End, and my mother overruled me and she said, "No, you're going to Whitmore, where he's got that lovely female head teacher with whom I'm so impressed." So yeah, it's
All right, okay. So I missed out on Whitmore, but then what the upside of this was that when I got to college, I went to Weald, and
oh
at
yeah,
Weald there were people from Hatch End and Whitmore there and Gayton, and I was
yes,
friends with them all. So I was like, "Oh, how do you know so and so?" "Oh, we used to go to primary school, and I know that even though they went to Whitmore, we went to primary school together first."
yes,
So
yes.
I was quite well connected as a 17, 18-year-old.
Ooh.
I had a wider circle of friends than the friends who had just
Yeah, gone straight
because
through.
because basically because the path that my life took. But
Yeah.
whilst I was in college, we moved. So I started college September '96. We moved to the house that we're in now in around the same time,
Yes.
and we got cable. We got cable
Okay.
for the first time, right?
Okay.
So late at night, at midnight, on the Paramount Comedy Channel, which later would become Comedy Central,
Right.
at
Right.
midnight there were 2 TV shows: Live at the Comedy Store and Live at Jongleurs.
Right.
I had no idea that these places existed, right?
Right. Yes.
And so I am now watching these shows at midnight where there's like a shop in London where
Mm.
people stand up on a stage and they tell jokes and that's their job and they
Right.
get to be
Right.
on telly. So
Mm.
my mind has been blown now. Oh, by the way, I should rewind a little bit. When I was about 11, 12 years old, I used to
Mm.
watch Jasper Carrot,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Canned Carrot. And I
Yes.
was so impressed with what he was doing. I was like, man, I'd love to do that. Like, I think I've got a video
Mm.
of me when I was 12 going, oh, I'm going to be a bit like Jasper Carrot now. And then I just basically, say stuff about, our family. I'd go, oh, this is an
Right.
impression of this relative and that's an impression
Yes.
of that
Yes.
relative. But when I discovered Live at the Comedy Store and Live at Jongleurs, my mind was blown. I was like, I should be doing that. Like, I
Right.
should
Right.
totally, like, I should just phone them up and go, I'm available for when they're filming next. Like, I didn't,
Right.
not thinking that I had
Right.
to work on the craft at all because I was so naturally gifted.
Right.
And at the same time, I was that guy in college. Like, I was the funny guy that was always cracking jokes. They're
Okay.
always the same stuff. I was always talking about poo, right?
Okay.
Taking a poo. Unfortunately, I don't have the powers of Rob Rouse, who, as a fully grown adult, has managed to corner the art form of telling jokes about poo.
Right. It does connect us all.
Yes, it does. It's we all do it. Whatever your color is, whatever
Yep.
your story is, we all got a poo. Right?
Yep. Yep.
So I knew that I was like, man, I'd love to do comedy, but whilst I was at college, I was just going, right, I need to get to university so I can then study video game design somehow. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Right.
Video games was the priority, right?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
So,
well, I'll just say for the listeners, by the way, that Imran and I grew up in the same part of London, northwest London, and so yeah, my sister went to Harrow Weald and I went to Greenhill, and actually friends who like I had a similar thing for you, like who went to Gayton when I went to Whitmore, and I then re-met up with them in Greenhill. So I had a bit of that experience in Greenhill, and I mean, I was not a fan. I got bullied in high school, and I didn't like it. I managed to do academically reasonably well, but yeah, I felt I came into my personality started to shine out in Greenhill. So it sounds like you had a bit of the same experience
yeah.
with Weald. Yeah.
Yeah, I think once I got out of a stifling school uniform, like high school kind of made me feel like you have to survive this prison system. And if you don't get good grades, your life is over. I truly believe that once I failed my GCSEs, that my life was over, not realizing, oh my God, it's just begun. Like, finally, you're in college, you get to wear what you want, you call the teachers by their first names, the responsibility is on you. You're studying what you want to study as opposed to being told what to study. If you don't do the homework, it's on you. Do you know what I mean? It's on you. Absolutely. And suddenly I felt like I got a job. I had a part-time job at Debenhams, £3.26 an hour.
Very goodness me.
You were allowed to pay people that back in 1996. So college was a better experience. And yeah, I knew I wanted to do comedy, but I was like, video games first. Video games first. Okay. Passion, right? Went on to university, but then whilst I was at university, the comedian Jeff Mirza.
Oh yeah.
He put on an Asian comedy night. I think he called it Bollywood Comedy Night or Asian Comedy Night at Harrow Art Centre.
Okay.
And I saw it advertised in the local paper. And I was like, in the actual Harrow Observer, what it was. And I was like, I've got to go to that.
Yes. And
so I went to it. And on the show was Paul Chowdhury.
Yeah.
I believe Shapi Korsandi. She was definitely one of them, but Paul did the first one. And I watched it. And then after the show, I hung around and I basically like caught Jeff in the car park. Right. And I went, hey, Jeff, that was great. Like, if I want to be a comedian, how do I become a comedian? How do you get started? And he just went, come back next month and I'll give you 5 minutes. That's all he said, right? And I was like, oh, wow.
At the Harrow Art Centre?
At the Harrow Art Centre.
Oh,
it was in a small room. I think it's called the Traveller's Studio, I think.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Right. But it was a small room. It wasn't like the main room.
No, no.
And so I then wrote some material like at home. And this is the height of, goodness gracious me was like a thing. Asian comedy, British Asian comedy was like it was coming through. So doing jokes about, doing like the kind of like lazy racism.
Lazy racism. Yeah, yeah.
But it was fun. We were getting to kind of parody our own culture and share it with the world and how we saw the world, how we fit in a white society and whatever. And, and the dynamic. And also by this point, I'd seen the likes of Russell Peters and Junior Simpson and Stephen K. Amos. And Chris Rock, and I was like, well, I can do these jokes. I can do these jokes about being Asian and having black friends and having white friends and whatever. You just without overthinking it too much. Sadly, right?
Yeah. And you were 18. You were 18 at this point.
No, I think I was 20 at this point.
Okay, so you'd gone to university, but then you came back.
I'd started uni. Uni, and I was just doing this and I was also working at Game. I had a part-time job at Game, video games. I was the store's resident console / particularly Nintendo expert. Right. So much so, I'm a massive Nintendo fan, even though I'm wearing a Sega hoodie at the moment. And what would happen if somebody, if a member of the public came into the store and they were unhappy with Nintendo or they started slagging off Nintendo, my boss would send them to me, and they would send me, like, I'd be at the end of the store and they would watch this, member of the public walk up to me, say something bad about Nintendo, and then watch me lose my shit on the shop floor, and then I just watch them at the counter just piss themselves. So yeah, and then I went back a month later, and I did a 5-minute gig. I invited one friend.
Oh, okay.
Right, one friend, and it went really well. But of course it did. I'm new. I'm excited. The audience want me to win because they can see I'm young and I'm excited. And I was like, man, I'm just a genius. So Jeff was like, come back next month. I'll give you another 5 minutes. Right. Come back next month. So I was like, great. So I invited loads of friends. And this time, loads of friends turned up. And I did that show. And that went really well. And also Channel East, which was a British Asian TV channel, they came to film it. Right. And I was like, okay, great. So I was on Channel East, a channel that I didn't have on my, at least we didn't have it. Because we didn't have that cable package. Sure. So I was on Channel East, and I was like, wow, I'm going to be a comedian. But then I was like, you know what? I need to focus on university and get to the games industry because I can always be a comedian later. Okay. So I stopped it there and then, and I went to the game. Well, I continued my studies. I wasn't very studious, and so I dropped out of university, and I managed to get a job in the games industry. Amazing. I started working at Midway Games, who make Mortal Kombat. Suddenly I'm making loads of money. I feel invincible. I feel good. And I realize that I've got to just, really, learn what I'm doing in the games industry and become important. Yeah. But weirdly, 2.5 years later, Midway was not going anywhere. It was in its decline. Right. It was already even before I joined, it was in its last 10 years. And I wasn't getting the opportunity to do anything exciting. I was kind of just doing stuff that was, that I was able to do, but nothing that was stretching my ability. Okay. Right. And that's what I needed. And they couldn't offer it. And ultimately, they were going to fire loads of people anyway. I just got out with, my dignity intact. Okay. And as I quit, I went, right, I want to be a comedian. How do I become a comedian? Now, I don't drink, so I don't hang out in pubs. No. Right. And that's where the open mic circuit is. So I don't know this. So I think Google had just come in now. I think because I'm from the Yahoo days. Right. Yahoo. So I think I just did a search for how to be a comedian or comedy courses in London. Right. And the one that came up was the Muse Moose course. Oh, yes. By Hills Jago. Right? Yes. Well, it wasn't run by her. It was, facilitated by her. It was run by Logan Murray. Yes. And Logan is fascinatingly intelligent and knows a little bit about everything, it seems. Yes, indeed. So I went and did this course, and it opened my mind to the discipline of stand-up. Right. And also the nature of the industry. I remember being asked, hey, you're going to go to Edinburgh? And I was like, why? What's happening in Edinburgh? There? Yeah. I didn't realize that it's not just a place, but it is an event. It's a festival. Yes, of course. And I started the course. I did the course. I did, and you know, you invite everybody to come and watch you, and you complete the course, and it goes
Yes.
really well because all your friends want you to win, and you think that's what real gigs are going to be like, and they're not,
No, no,
right?
no. Well, and interestingly, because I did the Amuse Moose course,
Great.
also managed by Hills Jago, but with Marcus Birdman.
Oh,
But
Marcus Birdman, yeah.
yeah, although I've subsequently done Logan Murray's MC course, but yeah, that's like yes, another connection point between us. But yes, that's it. I hadn't realized that you'd started from Amuse Mooses. That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah, so suddenly now I understood that I was like, look, if I'm going to do comedy, I have to go into pubs. I'm not
Right.
drinking alcohol, so you
No.
know, maybe it's not the end of the world. And then suddenly I was exposed to parts of the country and environments in which I'd never been, and you know, so it wasn't always welcoming, but for the most part, it was. You know, I think certain other comedians will take you under their wing and see that you're new, and they'll help you. Especially when I started out, brown and black faces were not
Right.
many, right?
No.
And we were
No.
told, like, and Hills had told us this, and she meant it she didn't mean it in a, you know, she was just being very honest. She's like, you will be the speciality act. If you are a woman, or if you are from an ethnic minority, or you
Sure.
are like, you know, the whatever box you're ticking, you will be considered the speciality act, and there'll only be one of you on the bill, right?
Right.
Now that's changed because now you've got enough people from enough backgrounds, whatever, to mix it up.
Yeah.
Sometimes even then there are balancing issues. I think, you know,
Sure.
I just did a gig where all the kind of three brown people in a row back to back right at the top of the show in a mainstream show. And I'm like, and you can see the impact it has with an audience that is predominantly white, right? It can just be a bit weird. It's not illegal. It's not bad. It's just like we have to think about you know, how people are engaging what's happening here. It's for everyone. And if you've got three brown, black people back to back right at the top, the MC and the first two acts, I remember just going, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have made this right.
No, well, I mean, I think it's a lot for comedy night. It's a lot about there's different perspectives. There's people who are slower acts, faster. They're high energy, low energy, different things. And I think often, yeah, I mean, that's what I try and do at Sunset is have, you know, kind of like a different, you know, you want to try and mix it up so that you're changing the energy each act. Absolutely.
Yes, and the perceived value of the person on stage. You know, and it's just an important thing. You know, and if you do it, you might be like, somebody will be like, oh, well, that might be a bit biased. No, like, there's just make it easy so everyone just has a good time, right? It's easy for them to consume. You know, if you've got a 3-layer cake and you know the top 2 layers are chocolate and then the vanilla, you know, the vanilla's all the way at the bottom, whatever. You got to wait. You want to mix it up so it's,
you got to mix it up.
You know,
absolutely.
It works in a way. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Someone's going to unpack this, and then we're going to get cancelled.
Well, you know, inevitably. I mean, particularly me because I'm an old gammon. But I'm really interested here. So there was kind of you were saying how so midway was you'd basically got out, and so the point at which you'd done the Muses course, you didn't have anything else on your agenda. Is that right? You're kind of like basically going.
I was doing the course in the last few months. I was at Midway.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then what I did is that I took a sabbatical, and by sabbatical, I stupidly quit my job, thinking that I had enough to just coast on for a
year.
Yeah, right. Because I was stupid, right.
I did the same. I did the same thing back in the day. Yeah, absolutely, easily done.
And what I thought I'd start making out a comedy like pretty quickly because in my head I was Chris Rock, right? In my head, right? Yeah. And I just wasn't, and it took me a while. Sorry, my light's a bit.
That's right.
Can you give me a second whilst I just fix this?
No problem at all. No problem at all.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm just going to...
Absolutely.
We've got fluorescent lighting in there.
Yes.
Which is... And there's a little nubbin that you've got to twist. And if you do it, it normally fixes it. There we go.
Right. Just like trying to find the clitoris, I guess.
Yeah, that... So what happened?
Sorry, go
on. I did the course.
Yes.
And then I started doing open spots. And what had happened... I think initially, you know, I could get by on a bit of charm and a bit of high energy sometimes, right? Sometimes. But really, I wasn't doing well. Like, I'd enter all the competitions and I wouldn't do well in the competitions, right?
Yeah. And just what year was it that you did the Amuse Mooses course?
2003, summer of 2003.
Right.
Yeah, this is when I properly started comedy, I would say. Well, I'm about to throw in a caveat now, but sure. Yeah, so I started comedy, and then I would just my gigs weren't going very well, right? So one of my closest friends would come to watch all of my gigs, and very quickly it became apparent that I just wasn't very good, and I couldn't do it, right? Like,
Okay.
most of the time I was failing, like in the reality, because I was like, come on, in my head, I'm Chris Rock. They don't understand. Because amongst my friends whom I know and I know how to behave and know where the edges are,
Right.
it
Right.
was easy. But with an actual audience of strangers in a pub, in an environment in which an Imran Yusuf, you're not
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
many Imran Yusufs. I didn't know. And I'm around people who are, it's massively atheist, it's a massively sacrilegious, and anti-Bible, anti-Christian. That is the culture of the people that I'm around. Like, they're
Yeah.
nominally Christian and they're taking the piss out of this, and everybody, suddenly I'm exposed to lots of acts who are gay and they're talking about that, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
I've not been exposed to this before, because
Right.
I've come from the professional world where you get on with your job and you don't talk about your personal
Right.
whatever.
Right. Right. Right.
Sorry, is this bothering you, by the way? Is
It
this
doesn't
school?
bother me. It doesn't bother me. So don't worry about it. I mean, this is I'm really loving the conversation, and I'm really loving the detailed blow by blow history of all of this, and I'm really interested. So in these contexts, you go. Is it mainly London based? Are you traveling all over the country? I mean, you say open spots, which is of course different from open mics. I mean, what's the um, like it all makes sense. I'm sort of interested to locate where you're spending most of your time
Well,
at
I
this
think
point.
the first, if I remember correctly, my first, so downstairs at the King's Head, I
Yeah.
foolishly did the open mic night at Up the Creek
Oh yeah.
on my fifth gig when Malcolm
Uh,
Hardy was still alive, and I got out alive. I didn't
uh,
do well, but I got out. I didn't get. I wasn't, humiliated and busted and broken beyond belief.
like I was
I
on my
did.
13th gig, but yeah, go on.
All right. Oh, 13. Wow. And then I just did a bunch of open. I remember Ivy Dembina gave me one of my first few gigs.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
really helpful. And so, yeah, it was just around London mostly,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Cool.
And I wasn't doing very. I entered all the competitions, the Laughing
Yes.
Horses, I think it was the Telegraph one, all of these competitions, and I didn't. Yeah, just I didn't place. I didn't do well. And then one day we
Mm.
did a gig in Wimbledon. I think it was the Laughing Horse in Wimbledon. And my friend came to watch, and I died. I died at that gig. And then on the
Mm.
train on the way back home, I sat there despondent. And my mate, bless him, just used to
Mm.
come to all my gigs and just, try to support, watch, he believed in me, right? And now suddenly he's
Mm.
watching
Mm.
me die in the reality of it all.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I went, be honest, man. Do you think I can do this? And he hesitated.
Oh yeah.
And he went, maybe sketch comedy.
Okay.
Right? That's what he said to me. And the
Right.
moment he said that to me, I was like, oh my God, you Judas.
Oh no.
You are the one person that I thought would never, like let me down. But he
Yes.
was being honest. He said the thing that had to be said.
Right.
And what happened? That something happened to me. Something
Yeah.
happened. I don't know what it
Mm.
was.
Yeah.
But then I went and did a gig at the Comedy Cafe. And
Mm.
suddenly I'd found this crutch where I would go on stage and deliver my material as a rude boy.
Okay.
Like, yo, listen, yeah, like I talk like this, yeah, like I just
Okay.
come out of high school, you know what I'm saying? And I was acting the way that I would, had I never evolved beyond my high school
Got you.
mentality.
Yes. Yes.
And suddenly that got me some leverage because I dressed shirt, trousers, shoes. I dressed smart because the games
Right.
industry, I learned from the games industry, you turn up to do business, right? I
Right.
was
Right.
in publishing anyway, like you turn up and do business. So it looked funny. Here's a skinny Asian kid who's dressed like he works in a bank or works in an office,
Right.
is talking
Right.
like a street rude boy, right? Like,
Mm.
so, and then I remembered, I realized, I sat down and I analyzed what's happening. I go, I need to make every sound that comes out of my mouth count. I need to
Okay.
make every syllable, every word count, every
Okay.
sentence count. So that means that there must be no fat on my act, right?
Mhm.
So only say the words that are necessary to make the joke work,
Right.
right?
Got you.
And as that happened, also late at night, I was watching the news, and it's, this is 2003, 2004 now, I think, 2004 probably, early
Yeah.
2004. I'm watching the news, and all I can see from the news, all I can infer from the news is that there's a war in Afghanistan, a war in Iraq. Basically, Muslims are bad and the West is good, right? That's all I can infer from it is Muslims, brown people bad, Islam bad, West is good. It's good, and that's what this war is. And it wound me up so much that suddenly I wrote my first political gag, and it came out. It just launched out of me in that moment. And that joke was this of like, I just went to America, yeah. And when I got there, they hauled me up into immigration and started asking me questions like, hey, what do you think you're doing here in the United States of America, huh? What is the nature and purpose of your business here, pal? And so I told him, I go, well, first I'm going to kill all the natives and steal their land. Build the country off the back of African slaves. And when they start complaining about racism, I'm going to stick them into ghettos full of guns, alcohol, and crack cocaine. But look like somebody's beat me to it, eh? That all just came out of my mouth in that moment. Right. And it was perfectly like I had all the beats, I had everything shaped. And so suddenly I went back into the comedy clubs and I went, right, I'm only going to be great. I'm not going to come on and go, hey guys, nice to be here. Keep it going for your MC. Where are you from? I'm just going to get on with the actual with the jokes. And the moment I did that, I remember, so the Laughing Horse used to have lots of gigs around, well, mainly around London, right?
Yep.
That you could gig with the Laughing Horse every night of the week. Right. Every night of the week, quite easily. Yes. So Alex would only give me one gig, and then he'd see me bomb, and then 3 months later, he'd give me another gig. Right? Yeah. So this time, I had this one gig in, and it was at the Blue Posts in Carnaby Street.
Right.
On a Monday, I believe it was, right? And I went there, and I did this new discipline set. You only say the words that count. And it went so well. I think I only did 3 minutes. I think I only did 3, but there was no fat. It was bang, 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 joke. And I remember Alex sitting there and laughing. And I'd never seen that response because he was normally quite like, oh, this guy's getting in the way. I saw him laughing. And then immediately he went, right, Imran, here are 3 gigs. Right? And then very quickly, I never had to pick up the phone or send an email to get gigs. They would all come to me. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Now that I worked on, on my discipline and asserting value, so Laughing Horse were like, here are all the gigs you want, all of the ones you want, right? So, and then other people are like, oh, we've heard about you, Imran Yusuf. Would you like to do 5? Would you like to do whatever, 10, etc. And then I just built my set minute by minute, just slowly but surely. I built it until I had a strong, 10, 15 going on 20. And what had happened, I then went, and then my friend was like, and then what I did, it was going well, and then I went into a depression because other things in my life weren't going so well, right? Fallen on my ass, lost all my money, career's not going so well. I'm back in the games industry, but I'm lower down than I was before.
Oh, you took another job, right?
Yeah, I went on a date with a girl that went really badly, and it just broke. I completely broke. And so what I did, I realized that I needed to sort my head out. So I quit comedy after 2.5 years of open spotting, with the last year going particularly well.
Right.
I quit and I went, I need to figure out my head. And I threw myself into personal development. I also went on pilgrimage. I went to Palestine. I went to Jerusalem first. And then I crossed the Allenby Bridge into Jordan, then went to Saudi Arabia and did Mecca and Medina.
Wow.
I needed to go and face all of that because, unfortunately, post 9/11, I think all Muslims have had to take a look at themselves and go, what are we participating in? Is this a religion where you're just turning up and it's just a cultural identity, or are you really in this, right? And I asked that of myself, because if you believe that God knows everything, right? God knows what's in your heart, what you're really thinking. And if I'm going, hey man, why am I following this because I just want to keep other people happy, or do I really believe it? God is aware of that. And so if my act of faith is something that's only in place to uphold for the sake of impressing other people, then it's false, isn't it?
It's false, you say?
It's false. If you're upholding it for the sake of pleasing other people,
right?
It's not really faith. It's just upholding a culture or a tradition.
You're just towing the line.
Yeah, you're towing the line. And I know that in me. So therefore God must know. So therefore I need to go and be honest and figure this out. So I went on this massive pilgrimage, and, I had experiences. It was very, very hard. It was very, very difficult, but I did it. I got it out of my system. And then I came back to England. I got a job in the games industry, working on a Nintendo game for the Wii before it came. And I thought, you know what? I'll go back to comedy after we get this game out.
Okay.
Yeah, after we get this game out, we're working on Battalion Wars 2 for the Wii before the Wii came out. So we're working directly with Nintendo. They're
Yeah.
in Japan. We're in London Bridge. I'm very um yeah, I'm very dedicated to it. But the project dragged on and it was brutal, like brutal hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was badly managed. I think it was the project was badly managed where we were overworked and nobody had a realistic idea of how to really, put the game
No.
together in the time that we had. Um, this is really bothering me. Just give me a second. Sorry.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, but it's interesting what you're saying about the game. I mean, my cousin works in the game industry, and the games industry is, I think,
Now that one's coming.
known for the difficult,
Crunch.
the crunch, the long hours, the failure to have a work-life balance. Yeah, tricky stuff.
Good Lord, why is that one going now?
You could turn all the lights out. Maybe it's God saying we want this in darkness.
We want this in darkness. So I came back, and so I'm on this game, Battalion Wars 2 for the Wii. It's really weird. I look back at it now, and I should have gone, hey guys, this is being badly managed. This is how it's being badly managed. You need to sort it out. But when you're the small fry,
Yeah, sure.
in a big company,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're right. You have to know your place, right? It's irrelevant being right if you're the small fry. And so I'm like, we'll get this game out. We'll get this game out. I'll go back to comedy. And then it got to a point where I was like, I remember one day I just thought, if I don't go back to comedy right now, I never will. Because this game is just being extended.
Yeah.
So there and then I went, you know what? I'm going to go back to comedy. So I made some phone calls, and a few people, that like Alex Petty from Laughing Horse, Mike Monera, who used to be around, remembered me, and they're like, yeah, we'll get you in. We'll put you in. We'll put you in for 5 or 10.
Yeah.
But then I also put myself in for the Gong Show the first week I came back.
Okay.
Right. And I'd done the Gong Show back in 2004, and I did really well.
Comedy store.
At the Comedy Store, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did really well, and they were interested, and they were giving me 5s and 10s, right?
Oh, okay.
But this, I'd taken a year and a half off. Now I've come back. I do the Gong Show. I smash it, and they're like, "Where have you been? We've not seen you for a long time." And I was like, I took some time off. I'm back now. So Don took me to the office. We had a conversation. And I was like, look, I'm back now. Like I'm really back now. And so in the spring, summer of 2007, I made my comeback, and I stuck with it. And Hills was like, oh, where have you been? I remember you. Why did you take some time off? And I go, well, I took some time off because I was depressed. I had to, get my head straight. But I'm back now. And she's like, okay, but don't leave again. You won't get another chance. You've got to stick with it now. Right. And then just I stuck with it and slowly grew. There was new skills that I had to learn. I had a very strong act, and it would work 99% of the time.
Right.
And the other times where it didn't work, I didn't know what to do. I had no other gear change.
Right.
So I had to learn how to do that. And then, because I think the games industry backing helped me. Because I can analyze, why is this working? Why is this not working? Look at all the variables that you can measure. What are the metrics that we can measure and identify? And I learned to compare. I learned to do an hour, and then suddenly things transform. I think after I learned to compare, my skill set transformed so fast.
Right.
I was unrecognizable.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, lots of interesting stuff in there. I was just going to go quickly back to the, what you were saying about the small fry being irrelevant. I mean, I think that's often, been the case in companies. I think modern functional companies spend quite a lot of time trying to empower the small fry to comment on the things that they think aren't working and help fix things. But certainly, back in the 2000s and in many dysfunctional companies, it continues to be the case that if you step out of line as a small fry, your job's on the line. So hopefully the world's moving towards a better place. But so it sounds like you had already in that first 2.5 years you'd sort of established a bit of a base. As you took the break, you came back in, and I guess this. You realized that the Wii game thing was going to be dragging on, and so you quit that job, and then you just tried to earn as much money from comedy as you could. That was jumping.
No, we were. So I'm still working on Battalion Wars 2.
Oh, okay.
I've come back to comedy.
Yes.
And what had happened? I did the Gong Show. I was a celebrity that night.
Oh, well done.
Like I smashed it. I got to the end. Me and Henry Packer became joint winners.
Yes.
And I was on top of the world. So at work, I was a small fry, I was a nobody. But at the comedy store on that night, I was the star.
Wow.
And the next day I went into work and my boss had a go at me. And as he had a go at me, I looked at him and in my head, I was going, do you know who I am? Like in my head, I was like, do you have any idea how special like I am?
You
so thank you. Yeah, because suddenly I'd gone from someone who's working at a games company, who's a QA lead, as we're being forced to do all this overtime. I'm a slave at my company.
Right,
but
right.
at the comedy store, I get to be a star and I have 100% creative control, right? And
Yes,
I'm rewarded for that. So I'm Superman outside, and I've not told anybody at work, right?
Right.
Then what happened, whilst I was at work, I had an appraisal and I said something that basically I basically signed my own death warrant when I said this in the appraisal. I told them, I go, look, on the next game, I don't want to be the QA lead on the next game. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me just change this. I don't, because I led the game's testing. I led the team on the testing game. I go, I don't want to be the QA lead. Like because I want to have a life outside of of working here. Yes. I don't want this level of responsibility. Also, ultimately, I wanted to be a games designer, but I didn't charm my way into the design team, who were right there. And the moment I said that I had signed my own death warrant, because at the company there was a policy that if I were to move around at the company, even if I was to do a lesser role, they would still have to pay me the same.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right. And then they're like, hold on, he wants to do less work, or he wants less responsibility for the same money. So they went, Imran, here are your marching orders. You've got, you've got whatever it is. I think it was a month or so left. Yeah.
Right.
And I went, okay, great. But what happened is that they couldn't find anyone to replace me. So at the end of the month, they kept on going, can you stay another month? Can you stay another whatever? Can you stay another whatever? Yes. And they did that 2 times, I think, at least 2 times.
Yes.
If not more. And then what had happened is that because I'd put this, and this is where I believe, the universe and the kind of divine cosmic order, because I had put a commitment into, I'm going to be a comedian.
Yes.
And I really meant it. Like I really felt it in my heart and I meant it. Because that had happened. Because that had happened. What had happened, even though they'd pushed me out, a friend of mine calls me from Sega, and he trained me when we were at Sega together.
Oh, yeah.
And he went, there's a job where they need a very specialist type of tester, which I could do, which was PlayStation 2 TRC testing.
Okay. Yeah.
Requirement criteria, right? To do with memory cards and, save flows and all the technical stuff that, can fail your game. And I'm an expert in that, right? Like I know how to do that very specifically. And I have, and at Sega, I was really good at it because Sega trained me really well, right? And I was like, oh my God, and so I called them and I went, look, guys, I can do this job, but here's the deal. I don't work Fridays and I don't do overtime. And they went, deal. And I'm like, good, let's go.
All right.
So Akuju were like, hey, can we keep you for an extra month? I went, no, I've got a new job. Bye. Right. And now suddenly the universe, life, God, whatever you call it, has responded to this energy that I've put in. Like, I want to be a comedian and I really mean it. So a job has turned up where I get paid decent amount of money.
Yeah.
I don't have to work on Friday. Do no overtime, right? And suddenly I'm in the games industry, I'm making money, and I've got enough time to go and pursue comedy. Perfect. I couldn't have asked for more, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly they were like, when I came to the end of that job, I was like, oh my God, I've come to the end of the job. And one thing I've learned in life is never not be making money.
Right.
Like, having a shit job is better than having no job. Right.
Yeah.
And so what I did, this is quite funny. When I left Game all those years ago to join Midway, as I left the store, my old boss Paul Dixon said to me, he went, Imran, I'm really happy for you, but just remember, if you fuck it up, you're always welcome back here.
That's nice. Yeah.
And I looked, that's a lovely thing to say. Somebody leaves to start their career.
Well,
right? As I walked out, I was like, I'm going to be good. And then 7 years later, I phoned him up and he's like, hello. And I'm like, yeah, Paul, I fucked up. Can I come back? And he's like, all right, cool. But fortunately, he gave me a job in the Uxbridge branch where he was. So at least I could save face. I'm not back in Harrow,
Right.
at the Harrow store, which is where I started.
Right.
So I'm now back in game with my tail between my legs, looking around, going, I left here and now I'm back here. I made
Mm.
thousands of pounds and I lost thousands of pounds. And now
Mm.
I'm back here. How did that happen? But
Right.
what they, I would work during the day, I'd go out in the evening and I'd do a gig. Perfect.
Yes.
Then the games industry job called back and went, Imran, we need testers. Can you come
Right.
back?
Right.
And I went, great, let's do that. And then they went, actually, we need you to work from home and we need to hire more testers. And I went, more testers, let me hire them. Because
Mm.
if you have to hire testers, you're going to have to go to a third party. God knows who you're going to have to find. You don't know what quality of work they're going to do. Whereas if you let me hire them, I'm going to hire my mates from Sega and Eidos, who are one, very good, and two, are my mates. And so
Right.
therefore
Right.
we would just get the work done. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And Harry Homewood, bless him, just went, all right. He went, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I went and hired, I think I hired about 4 friends.
Yes. Yes.
I had 4 of my mates. We worked from home and we just got the job done. And then what this allowed me to do is that during the day, we would work on the game during the day, but sometimes there wasn't anything to do, right? Sometimes we're like, oh, we've done enough. So
Yeah.
I could go to the gym and come back. And
Right.
like I've got other testers covering me because I've done the test plans. I've told them what they need to do.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I've made sure that I'm on top of everything. Then what would happen is that I'd go to the gig in the evening and I would come back around midnight. Now, our parent company was in San Diego, just like it was with Midway. Now, they're still at work. They're in the middle of their day at midnight.
Yes.
And what I've done is that because I've got all my adrenaline pumping, I've just jumped on the emails and have prepared everything that needs to be done tomorrow.
Right.
So I've taken in a new build. I've done a load test. I've made sure that everybody's got what they need. So when my testers wake up in the morning, they don't have to search for anything. They go, here's the email. Imran's told us what to do. All I need to do is click this and go.
Right.
And now the guys in San Diego look at me going, why are you still up? And I'm like, oh, well, just, I'd rather get this done and out the way now. So in the eyes of the company that I worked with, they go, he works during the day. And then he also puts in an extra shift at night in order to set up. That meant then I could sleep in a bit because my testers are picking up at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've been up till like 2, 3 o'clock, whatever.
Sure.
So everything's worked out well. Like I've got a solid job in the games industry, working from home, making good money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm also going out and doing open spots, and some of them are beginning to pay.
Right.
And now suddenly I'm making like maybe $3,000 a month, right? Like between the two. Like when I looked at it carefully, I was like 2-3 grand. I'm like, oh, this is before taxes. Right?
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. And my life felt blessed. I truly felt blessed. I've got a solid games industry job that's helping me rebuild my finances. It's I work from home. I've got a good relate. Everyone I work with is cool. Nobody is a liability because my team are my mates.
Right.
And then eventually, at the start of 2010, the games work started to slope off.
Okay.
But I was making money. In 2009, I started making money out of comedy. Because I signed with an agent who was getting me gigs.
Okay.
And it just basically changed. And then I got nominated, got on TV, and then that was that.
Okay. Right. And the game sloping off, that was sort of a natural, the amount of work. I mean, and I guess, but then you were partly because you saw the comedy kind of lifting up. You were like, I don't have to rush around and find other game work because the comedy stuff can kind of
exactly that. Tons of money was coming in from the comedy now after the nomination, after being on TV. Tons of money, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this now, right?
Yes.
And I've been kind of doing that ever since. There's been ups and downs.
Yeah.
There've been great times and there've been hard times, and here I am now at 45.
You don't look a day over 30, but it's like comedy keeping you young. It's no, well, thank you for sharing all the details. I mean, I've filled in 3 pages of notes because it's amazing, and you've touched on some of the other questions that we usually ask. I mean, you've named a lot of people who've had a big impact. Your friend who said sketch comedy, Paul Dixon, who gave you that other job, the guy from who phoned you up for the PS2, Alex Petty. I mean, it's as you. Well, I mean, I don't mix the questions up, but as you look back, is like, are the people that you've already mentioned, are those the ones that have had the biggest impact on you and your comedy, or is there more in terms?
There's more.
The relationships. Go on.
You know, I think, you know, watching that Comedy Store TV show and the Jongleurs TV show in the 90s, watching the likes of Adam Bloom and Sean Mio, um, Stephen K. Amos, Junior Simpson, all these guys,
Yes.
just
Yes.
watching them was an influence. But then when I got into comedy, Adam Bloom was my first like mentor. He was the first person who sat me
Ah.
down and gave me actual technical advice on what to do.
Yes. Yes.
After watching Stephen Grant compare, I was inspired to become a compare because he is excellent. He is the best of the best. And I never thought comparing was, it didn't look like anything I wanted to do until I
Right.
saw him do it. And then I went, oh my God, I want to be able to do it like that. So, you know, he was a massive inspiration. There's been, you know, and the cutting edge team. After I figured this out. This is one of the things that I figured out, that when you start out in comedy, there's three things that you need. You need to have a solid 20. Yeah.
Right.
In order to have a solid 20, you've got to have a good 30. Because if you've got a solid club set, you can open, middle, and close the clubs.
Right.
Right. After that, you need to learn how to compare. Right. If you can compare, you can play the clubs that you can open, middle, and close at. Right. And also, comparing is a different skill. It makes you more responsible for the show, rather than it being about you being the star. You're setting the show up so that the others can have a good time. It's not about you as the compare. It's about everyone else, really. Right.
Yes.
And it just also makes you much more. It gives you improvisational skills. It allows you to kind of like, you know, engage with people and discover just how likable you actually are, and how, you know, if people gel with you, the audience gel with you. And the third thing you need is a solid hour, an hour where people can come on a journey with you on your journey. When you have those three things, you can do everything. You can open, middle, and close the clubs. You can compare the clubs, and you can invite an audience to come and spend an hour with you. Right. After I'd done that, I went, you know, and I'd, you know, gone to Edinburgh, done the show, got the nomination, ended up on Michael McIntyre's Comedy Roadshow. I went, right, what's next? Where's the next dojo that I got to go to? And that's when I discovered that it's no longer running, but the Comedy Store had a show on Tuesdays called The Cutting Edge, which was a team of topical comedians. So basically, it's the idea, it's basically where Mock the Week stole the format from.
Right.
And I was, well, show, I'll be around comedians who've got more experience. I met Steve Gribbin. I asked him. He gave me some advice. And Martin is such a lovely guy. I met him at a couple of gigs. And then one gig I went, hey, Martin, I see that you're a member of the Cutting Edge. He went, yeah. And I went, I would love to do a show like that. How can I prepare so that I could, you know, kind of like audition for it or do whatever I need to do? Right. And he goes, no, you're good. You just come down. We'll get you on. And I went, no. I'm not ready to do the show. I want to know what skills I need to learn first. And he went, no, you are ready. You're good. Just come on down on Tuesday. I'll introduce you. And I'm like, no. And he's like, no, just do it. And then I came down on the Tuesday and I walked backstage, which you're not really allowed to do when you know, with the producer of the show, John Connor. He doesn't like strangers in the room. You know, if you're not on the bill, get out the room, effectively. Right. And I just walked in and both Martin Coyote and Steve Gribbin light up and go, oh, Imran Yusuf. And the other guys in the room, and because they lit up and they showed me that they basically went, this kid's legit, right?
Yeah.
The others are like, well, if Martin and Steve reckon he's all right, then he must be all right. And that's how then John was like, oh, right, okay, you know him. And Martin just went, book him, right? And I watched the show. And at the end of the show, I sat down with the producer. He went, so do you want to do the show? And I go, I do, but not because I'm good. It's because I want to get better. I want to come here to learn to become a better comedian, and being around comedians who've got more experience than I have is how I'm going to do it. So it's not because I'm great and I'm going to take the roof off. It's because I'm here to learn.
Yes.
So if you will have me, I'd love to do the show. And he went, all right, we'll give you a shot. And I did it. And then I became a regular. Right. And I learned, I failed on the show as well, man. I had some stinkers on that show as well. Oh, really? I had some, man, I failed on that show a few times, but most of the time I did really, really well. Sometimes I'd be star of the show, right? Sometimes, you know, people just love you and you're on fire. But sometimes when I failed, and believe me, the older boys will let you know when you failed. So they were a massive help. The Cutting Edge team, you know, Martin Coyote and Steve Gribbin vouching for me, and you know all the older boys, which is, you know, the Sean Mios, the Paul, the Ian Stones, the Alistair Barrys, you know, the Roger Monkhouse. These guys were my senseis.
Yeah, no, amazing. And there's another thing. It's interesting. Like so there's, I mean, it's a great story. the other thing is, of course, about the technology. And so you were clearly like in the kind of like sort of the launchpad phase up to like 2009, 2010. I mean, the remote work from home, getting all the testers set up, all this other, you were using the technology like seamlessly to, help support the comedy career. But out in doing the comedy itself, I guess technology wasn't that big a part of it. I mean, this is, back when maybe you're still taking notes on paper with pen and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think so. What we had noticed, YouTube had like kind of done favors for Russell Peters, right?
right.
But he had put on a professional recording onto YouTube, right? None of us had a professional recording when we were new. Like you could get, we used to set up cameras at the back of the room, but you weren't mic'd up. The audience
No.
aren't mic'd up. It's not like today where everyone has a 4K camera on their phone,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and a sound kit. And now all the clubs have got them. All the clubs have got kitted out. So
Yeah.
we didn't have that. And Facebook was used for booking gigs.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really, there was no way of, the only way we would share jokes when Twitter came out, you would put jokes on Twitter. And if they did
Yes.
well, that might help you. But putting out video content, essentially, you were dependent on getting a professional recording done and then putting it out, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then for me, the big one was after I did Michael McIntyre's Roadshow, that went on YouTube and that did me favors for a while.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And now, if you're doing comedy, you've got to be recording yourself. You've got to be putting out content. If you're not on social media now in any form of business, you're not doing yourself favors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but
Unless you're an assassin, because it's probably best to stay away from that stuff.
indeed, indeed. But as a comedy assassin, I mean, one of the things, I mean, you're telling us about the technology to sort of like promote yourself. Is there any technology that's involved like in the creation of the comedy or being funny? Like, I mean, are you recording your sets and listening back to them? Are you asking AI to kind of like, punch up your jokes? I mean, is there even you using a word processor or a particular piece of software to store all of your comedy like in a spreadsheet? I mean, does it affect the process at all, or you're like a total natural? I have the ideas, I write them down on Quill. Well,
I prefer writing them down in a notebook.
Okay.
Although when I wrote my Radio 4 pilot, I typed that because I'm working with a producer, and also it's different from doing stand up because you're performing it as a written piece as opposed to like making it look like it's conversational. Because when you perform it, you do it like so. I just recorded a thing for Radio 4, and it was about being a carer because I'm a carer for my mum, and it was from Mary Burke has a show about being a carer because she's a carer for her husband.
Yes, indeed.
And I was given a week to write like 10 minutes of new material. And so I was like, oh my God. So I wrote down some bullet points. I called you. You put me on at sunset.
Yeah.
And that was the first one. So I did that. And then I did it another 3 times. And then I went recorded it at the show. And I read it off my phone. And because it's a Radio 4 show and the audience understand that, it's not, it doesn't necessarily have to be standy uppy.
You're right.
It went really, really well. I was so happy. Like, and it took, it took me a week to nail down a decent 10 minutes that went really well and was themed. Like it was around being a carer.
Right.
And it was very touching. It was very, emotional as well. It wasn't just silly gags. It was the reality of what it means to take care of your mum after, she's taken care of you and fed you and cleaned your bum and all that. And now, it's payback time.
Yeah. No, indeed.
So, but in terms of technology, AI, what I found, so AI, ChatGPT is rubbish at writing jokes. It's rubbish. It's worse than the worst open spot. Right? Right. It's worse than the person who just shouldn't be anywhere near a microphone. However, if you've got a gamer's brain, a programmer's brain, right? You understand it's a knowledge calculator. Right. It's an information calculator. That's what it is. And what I have got it to do, I've gone, right, here is the topic. Here's the topic I want to write jokes about. So it was I've done it over at Sunset. So the post office scandal, right?
Yes.
So I look and I go, give me the key themes and words from the post office scandal, right? And instead of me having to read all the news, it will go, here are the key themes and words, right? And so I looked at it and went, right. So one of them is, it was Fujitsu. Fujitsu were the company who provided the software that caused the problem. And I looked at it and went, right, Fujitsu, what's fine? Well, Fujitsu actually sounds like a type of martial art, like ninjutsu or jujitsu.
Right.
What can I do with that? And then my brain gets to work. So I think what ChatGPT or AI can be good for is helping you sift out the key themes and words, so then your brain can do the genius bit.
Yeah. And in the same way that Google, Google or Wikipedia or what have you, it's a way of like, you can bring more information in and then you can do the comment bit. Although, of course, you probably... Yeah, but you probably haven't seen my 40-minute presentation at Pi Data 2023, where I developed a stand-up mixing desk that based out of a series of prompt engineerings, and I basically had I explained the history of AI comedy and presented my stand-up mixing desk, and then I had it generate a little 3-minute set for me, and then I performed it and managed to get laughs. So I think you're absolutely right. Out of the box, ChatGPT can't do very good jokes, but there is a level of AI engineering over the top of that in which I'm a specialist, and you can occasionally get laughs. I think slightly better than your average open mic, but it's not competing with yourself or Michael McIntyre just yet. But
I've never seen it produce a good joke, and I've tried to ask it every which way possible to produce some kind of satire. They're so awful that you're like, this is it's embarrassing. Like, I feel embarrassed for the ChatGPT.
Sure.
But I think as I also use it for other things. I use ChatGPT. I ask it what are the, looking back at all historical conflicts, right, or historical genocides, what are the variables? What are the process? What is the process? What are the variables, and what are the processes they go through? Just before the genocide happens, or when the genocide happens,
right.
And then it gives you this. I know this has already been researched, but it's great with ChatGPT to go, well, first it's the kind of hate speech, fomenting discrimination against certain groups, and then but it just one thing leads to another, and then suddenly you're frog marching your neighbor out into the middle of the street and chucking them on the back of a van, right? And that's not just Nazi Germany; it's Bosnia, it's Rwanda, it's what's happening to Palestinians. So there is an algorithm to persecution. There is a pattern to persecution, and as human beings, we should be going, you know what? It is somewhat necessary for us to have our ethnic, cultural, and religious identities. However, they are also complicit in unimaginable horror and violence as well. So by taking this data and understanding it, how can those of us who understand the liability these issues are prevent these things from happening? How do we prevent falling into a civil war, prevent a certain group being persecuted, and how slow those steps are? First, we'll discriminate against them and we'll call them these names, and then we'll do this and do that, and it just goes on. I mean,
the dehumanization process.
As an interconnected world, we should be evolving now to the next level, which is, let's manage the world and its resources in a way in which nobody has to suffer in poverty or in fear of violence, right? And transform the planet. That's where we should be. But unfortunately,
no, it can feel like we're moving in the opposite direction sometimes, can't it? Yeah,
it definitely feels that way.
I mean, so I've been talking about the nature of reality. I mean, this is, and there's a broad question here, is like, do you, I mean, you don't drink. I mean, I also don't drink, but this, so when I say, the question we asked, which is like, how do drugs affect your perception of reality? That is, chemicals of all kinds. With, are you taking a paracetamol? Is your body a temple? Did you dabble in your youth? I mean, how, I mean, it is a strange mixed up. Well, I think a lot of people, drown themselves in drink to stop thinking about just how difficult some parts of the world are. What's your relationship with substances of any kind?
Oh, right. So I've never drunk alcohol in my life, right? I don't like the smell, and so I don't want to know. Also, having been a comedian for over 20 years now, I'm around people who drink a lot, and there's a spectrum of alcoholism, it seems, right? And I've seen, I think those who are not happy on the inside, when they drink, the unhappiness comes out quite fast, especially around me, for a different reason. Those who are happy on the inside, they have a little drink and they're just a little bit more jolly, and that's what that is. Some are just dependent on the drink, man. Like, they turn up at the gig and they're like, let's get into that fridge right now, right? There was a time where, when I'm on the bill, I don't drink. So comics would just come in and be like, well, I'm having Imran's beer. We know that he doesn't drink. So I'm just, without even asking me, right? Like, not that I'm bothered. And then the venue would be like, oh, hold on. Why is that extra drink gone when we know Imran doesn't drink, right? And then they started taking that beer out. And they're like, "Now, if you want to drink, you got to come to the bar and ask for it." So there are those who've got real substance issues. I'm not one of them. However, you know, I'm a grown man, 45, but without it, you know, saying anything that will get me into trouble. There are mind altering like experiences that you can have, and you can do them in a safe and healthy way so that you're not addicted and you don't end up being a liability to people around you. And you know, there's I'm just trying to think. I've had when I went on that pilgrimage, I had a dream. I had a very powerful vision dream when I'm in Mecca and I was in the hotel, and once I was out on this pilgrimage, I was like, I basically wanted God to validate me. I want God to come down, and, you know, or an angel to come down and go, "Well done, Imran, you're a good Muslim. You're doing it right. Everybody else is wrong, right? You're always doing it right." And you know, I'm in the Dome of the Rock. I'm underneath the rock, in the cave, underneath the rock, underneath the dome, right? And I'm reading Quran every day. I then go to Mecca and Medina. I read Quran every day in the mosques. I spend all day in prayer. And I'm waiting for this magical, divine thing to happen. And then one night I had a dream in the hotel in Mecca, and I had a dream that I was in Harrow and I was on a familiar road just round the corner from here. And I'm outside a familiar house, and I knock on the door, and the door opens, and it's my childhood friend, Peter Donaldson. I hadn't seen Peter since I was 12. And at the moment in having this dream, I was 26. Right? So I hadn't seen him since I was 12 years old, and he's in my dream, right? And I went, "Wow, Peter Donaldson." And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "Do you know who I am?" And he went, "Of course I know who you are." And he hugged me. And when he hugged me, I still remember it now. This visceral feeling in my heart just exploded in like joy. Right? And then I woke up. I sat up straight, and I went, What was that about? What was that about? And I just sat there for a while, just going, what has happened here? And I just started ruminating over it. And I went, I think maybe this is a sign that I've come out here looking for an experience that I have not yet had. Right? I'm looking for an angel. I'm waiting for a divine thing that I've not yet experienced. But the dream, weirdly, and this is my own interpretation, is showing me, can you not see the blessings that you've already possessed? Is that I was friends with someone who wasn't my religion, who wasn't my ethnicity, who wasn't my culture, but it didn't matter because he was my friend. We were truly friends in school. And that changed me. That massively changed me. I'm out here looking for this one-dimensional religious validation. But friendship is a divine virtue. The same thing that created the sun, moon, and stars and has created us has caused for us to bond with each other over the power of our friendship. And historically, I realized that me and Peter's like ancestors couldn't have been friends. It was not in the evolution of human society for people from two different ethnic groups to be friends in the way that him and I became friends. Right? Which is just friends. There was when we were at school, there was no racism between us. There was none of that. Just we were we argued, we had fights, right? But we were friends. And that changed me. And I think, you know, rather than focus on, you know, there are mild, you can go and smoke whatever you want and have all these trips, whatever. But that dream, that vision was it's to this day. Like I tell everybody about it. I've been in touch with Peter. And I tell him, I go, "Man, you have no idea how famous you are." I tell everybody about you. I tell everybody about that dream, because I infer that dream is from God, as is all experience. You know, as all of reality is just. I think that's it. You know, if you believe in God, it can be very naive, especially in the modern world. If you don't believe in God, well, then you know, you can go, "Well, are you blind?" But really, all there is God. But the word God itself, what you infer from that, if you think it's an anthropomorphic entity, that's on you. Where, you know, I think the best description is, you know, that can be named as not the Tao. You know, it's just all of this is, I always put it down to this. You and I, all of us, exist in a reality that we didn't create, nor do we sustain. We are the created and we are the sustained, right?
That's one way of looking at it. Go on.
Yeah. What word you use to
Yeah.
attribute that to, oh, well, Bob did it. Bob is the creator
Yeah.
and sustainer, or this religion or that, whatever. It's irrelevant. It is what it is.
Well, I think that indeed one can assign a word. It certainly is what it is, because it's so difficult for it to be not it what it's not. But it's. Oh, I love the story about your friend Peter Donaldson and that vision. And it sounds to me like the biggest things that have affected your perception of reality are the experiences through your life. It's not. It hasn't been, particular substances or this and the other. The biggest impact has been from the experiences. And I mean,
the biggest impact, yeah. I mean, there may or may not have been substance experiences, right?
Right.
But I think that is the one that I think the substance experiences, because they're fleeting, they don't last forever,
indeed,
right? But when they happen, they are beyond real. They are more real than this real, right? When they're happening, and then you're like, wow. But they're not permanent. Like, this is permanent. This is on 24/7. The only time you get any respite from it is when you go to sleep. Right. And even then, it's still on, because you could fall out of bed and hurt yourself.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing. It sounds like you're a bit of a material realist, but this segues perfectly into our final question, which is about what does it all mean, the life, the universe, and everything. And so you were describing there about, it sounds like you have a strong belief or even a faith in God. And of course, there's like trivial sort of child, like Father Christmas notions of God, of like a lifeguard in the sky and this, that, and the other. And I mean, it's a word that people have so many different associations with, both positive and negative, that it's almost impossible to have a conversation, like that uses God. But I got the sense there from one of the things you're saying, that you perceive a thing that you tag with God, but it's sort of an unknowable, ineffable thing. How would you describe what it is, and if there's any meaning to all of this experience that we're continuing to have?
Yeah, I guess you've described it quite well there. I think growing up as a Muslim and learning about Islam and actually reading the Quran, as opposed to this is what this sheikh said, actually reading the Quran and experiencing life. I reflect the story of Abraham is really powerful in the Quran. I think the story of Abraham in the Quran is the thing that really resonated with me.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason it resonated with me is that it reflects that here is a man, Abraham grew up in an environment in which there was a prevailing narrative of religion, and they worshipped idols, and his father was the idol maker, right? He questioned it all. And when he questioned it, he got a lot of pushback. And then one day, he destroyed all the idols in the temple. And when everybody came back and went, who destroyed the idols? He left one intact. And people asked him, who destroyed these idols? And he's like, well, why don't you ask that one? Because he must have seen it. Right. Which means that he would have been the first comedian. Who said religion can't be funny, right?
Absolutely.
And then he goes into exile, and he looks at he's trying to figure out what God is, and he looks at he says the sun is what God is, but it's set, and he goes, that's not God. Then he looks at the moon, and then he ends with this. He goes, I will not associate with God that which I do not know of. Right. And so I think these stories as powerful allegories, instead of saying this is a historical event that definitely happened, is that this is a perennial archetype whom we must try and emulate. We must question the prevailing narratives of our society, particularly religion, right? And go, are we doing this because we're upholding it because it's true, or are we doing it to please everybody else and to be in with the in-group?
Yes.
Because if you believe God is all-powerful and knows everything in your heart, well, you know what's in your heart because it's your heart. And when you start doubting, God knows. And the purest thing to do is to lean into the doubt and question it and purge it from you. So I look at and I realize so we exist. We're here. I didn't make this. You didn't make this. You don't sustain it. I don't sustain it.
Will you say that? Go on.
Yeah. So it does what it does, right? So our bodies, have got a million trillion different things going on that's keeping us alive, that keeps us balanced, that keeps us lucid, that keeps us articulate.
Yeah.
And the more we study reality, the more we realize there's so much more to it. That's actually, it's beyond our comprehension. What we can comprehend is great.
Yeah.
But there's so much more that we've got, oh my God, there's just so much more going on.
Yeah.
And so it's so impressive. And that's why I've condensed it down to, this reality we did not create, we did not create, nor do we sustain. We are the created, we are the sustained. And whilst we're here, I realize I've benefit from the effort of others to make the world a better place, right? Black, white, brown, green, whatever, whoever they are, right? one of the most moral people I know has no religion, Mark Thomas, right? Who's done tremendous things to alleviate the suffering of others and to advocate for those who are not like him at all, right?
Yeah.
And I realize that whilst I'm here, I've benefited. My life has been improved because of the kindness of others and the efforts of others to give me a good life. Well, then that's what I want to do. I want to be part of that. So when I'm gone, the next Imran Yusuf and the next Peter Donaldson are going to be are going to get to be friends.
Yeah.
Because we've paved the way for them.
Yeah. No. Oh, well, I love it. Yeah, go on.
Can I say one last thing? So
please.
I think this is in the Abrahamic religions, definitely in Islam, and I'm definitely sure in Judaism and Christianity as well, really, is God, we are to be God's vicegerent. Like we are the, how do you say that word? Vicegerent?
Viceroy?
No. Vicegerent. No, like basically we are. Hold on, let me just look it up. I'm going to Google it while I've got you here. Give me a second.
That's all right.
Give me a second. I don't know how to say it properly. Vicegerent. Right. Hold on. Go on. Yeah, vicegerent. A person exercising delegated power on behalf of a sovereign or a ruler.
Okay. I don't think I've heard that word before. Yeah,
the human being. A person regarded as an earthly representative of God, especially the... Right, so, no, all human beings are the vicegerent of God, of this thing that we possess, this consciousness, and we have language, and we're able to communicate. So we are a reflection of this. So, and we have a duty to uphold to each other. Because when we work together, we can have computers and interesting conversations. Right. Someone's going to benefit from this conversation. Like long after we're gone, you and I are dead. Someone's going to look up. Someone's going to be watching this and watching you beyond the grave, right? And they're going to benefit from this, which is going to enhance the quality of their life and who they are, so that they go on to be an asset to somebody else. And that's what life is about. It's transforming in an incredible way, and enjoy it and make it better.
Yeah, well, no, I absolutely love the make it better portion. I can't help but dig into the we are not the creator, because I would have, like, a few years ago I would have agreed with you. It's like, yeah, like, the world is this infinite thing and we're just all tiny specks of dust, and what can we know? But I've encountered and that's there's a sort of a logical positivist materialist view of the universe as being something kind of, we're a part of it, but it's like this bigger thing than us, and like the desk exists and so on. It's like, but it's sort of like universe first, shall we call it? And there's another point of view which comes up a lot more in the Buddhist teachings, which is consciousness first, right? And it's just I think the interesting thing to me is, like, logically you can't prove whether it's consciousness first or universe first. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not that I want to deny your existence, or sometimes I even wonder if I really exist. But it's, do you know what I'm saying? It's like if you're absolutely rational about it, there's nothing to kind of prove that this isn't all just a single vision. I mean, we does that make any sense at all?
No, I'm listening. This is where it's I've got lots of different religious books up here, and I've got the Buddhist ones as well, the Dhammapada. I've got the Dhammapada there, and I'm fascinated. So it's not that you are offering a perspective that I am not as well versed on, right? I've come to my perspective through my experience. You've come to the perspective through your experience. We should learn from each other rather than try to prove,
oh no, absolutely.
I'm right. I'm just, so like when I said we're not the creators or the sustainers, we're the creators the same. You accept that that's my vision. You don't have to accept it. Yes. And your vision, your perspective is, I should at least consider it. I don't have to sign up to it.
No, right? No, of course not.
But I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. In fact, that's quite intriguing, because the whole consciousness comes first, and then the material world has kind of been built around it, right?
Right.
That's I'm just like, I've never thought of that. How, and it's if I listen to you, I don't become less of a person or less of a Muslim or less of whatever.
Right.
It's just, it's a listen. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Oh wow! So I don't, I listen to a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? And I think he's really, really good. And perhaps it appears to me in that hard materialist kind of vein that consciousness is a byproduct, has emerged because, because of biological life, right? And then consciousness happened. It's a byproduct of it, right? It's an emergent quality of that. That's a way of looking at it, right? And it works. What you're suggesting is different, and I'm like, oh wow, you know what? That's fascinating. How else, what would we? How else could we relate to the world if that was the case? If all there is just consciousness, and the material world is just kind of it's coalescing and dissolving in and out into different into different shapes, into different things.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you that that there's no need for disagreement. And of course, for me, I'm not saying it is consciousness first or it is material first. Like I'm saying, this is like something that happened to me a few years ago. Was just because I would have just didn't even think consciousness first was an option. But and I think this is what I particularly like about Buddhism is it doesn't say this is true. It says check your experience. It says consider these, and that's really cool and groovy, and I love that about it. And so it's this weird thing where like there's a point of view that I mean, I as a kind of trained scientist and so on tend to believe that the reason that I can't put the pen through the table is due to electromagnetic repulsion. I've got different atoms and this, that, and the other, but there's a perspective from the consciousness first that says even the pen and the table are conscious in some sense, and it's their sort of conscious awareness repellent. I mean, I'm not suggesting that any of it makes sense, but it's just as life goes on and gets stranger and stranger, it's fascinating to think about all of these different things. I mean, there's like Carlos Castaneda and this idea of visions. Like there's some people, I don't know if you ever have this with dreams. I mean, you talked about that very, very real experience that you had with the dream with Peter Donaldson. And there are some people who can have dreams that kind of like recur and they have like a sort of a serial nature. I feel like I've had them sometimes. Other people have said that they kind of like almost seem to lead other lives in dreams. They've got like a dream that repeats over 3 or 4 days and they have like stuff going on. I mean, this is partly where it touches on the drugs. There's people who take DMT and they say, oh, I spent like 4 years living as a Native American, as an indigenous people, like smoking peace pipes and living in wigwams, and then but it only took like 15 minutes in. So it's kind of this question of things like we'll all eventually die, we certainly think, and we'll be on our deathbeds and looking back and we'll remember our lives and our dreams, and was that was the big life. Was it a really real thing, or was that just a vision, and it's just going to be the first of a sequence of visions before we go into the next life and the next? I mean, I have no idea. I don't have a it's like this or it's like that. I'm just like, man, this is a freaky existence that we're in, but it's lovely to be able to like play with the ideas. It's but either which way, the last thing I want to do is undermine what I think is your fantastic message about trying to make things better. It is a crazy mixed up world, and I think you talk about a duty and responsibility. I don't know. I hate words like duty. I think, don't we all want to live in a world where people are being nice to each other? Wouldn't that just be a fun thing to make? It would be much better.
I think those of us, we can't all get along, clearly, right? We can't all get along. But those of us who can and can meet in the middle have to work together. Yeah. Right? Like if we, so here is a group of people and we all come from our different religious and cultural traditions, but we're going, you know what? I don't want to live in an ethnically or religiously or culturally homogenous environment.
No, indeed
and
not.
Those aren't sustainable or fun. If you look, like Japan has had to open up, right? Because they're imploding. China's about to face that now as well. Like we need to. And you know what? The life is so much more fascinating. We're like, what's that food? What's that language? What's that piece of art? What's that piece of craft? What's that? It's far more fascinating when we all share the best of what we have and meet in the middle, right? And then what we have to do is keep the nut jobs at bay. They're the ones that have to be kept at bay, right? Right? Because those of us who get along, and it won't be perfect, but we're like, look, let's just find, like, we all agree that we should wear clothes when we walk outside in public, right?
Oh, we
like
did. I didn't get that memo, but sorry. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
you get it. And without too much difficulty, I just spent the last weekend in Brighton where I was doing gigs, and it's known as, I think it's the gay capital of the UK, right?
Indeed,
I think outside of Hebden Bridge, it's the gay capital, and I didn't.
It's the gay Mecca, shall we say?
Right. Okay. Well, careful you say that around. Right. It's where that is, and I was there, and I didn't feel like weird or like unwelcome or any of that. There are shops that I probably don't want to go in. I don't have to go.
No,
I don't
no,
have to,
indeed,
right?
indeed.
But you know, it's great. You go there to the beach, and there's just a great vibe. I took a video just going so relaxed. There's kids playing
Yeah,
basketball on the open court. You know, people just chilling out, and they've just made it work. They're going, this is a place, and there's street markets and there's
yeah.
independent shops, and which is such a relief to see
Oh
because
yes, lovely.
everything around here is branded, and we're bored out of our skulls with it.
Yeah,
So I don't. I don't know how we're going to do it, but what I realized with the power that I have, I'm going to try and make the world a little bit better place. I build bridges with people around me. I try, you know, do my best to be kind and good. And
yeah,
I remember how people have been kind and good to me, or how, like, you know, growing up, going to primary school in this country was great. Like, and I wish other kids had the experience that I have. But high school was awful, and there needs a massive, like, we need to get rid of uniforms, we need to get rid of homework. Just, you can't be stifling kids with this like authoritarian regime when they're blossoming, right?
yeah.
When they're blossoming.
It's a tricky one. I think it's an odd thing for a democracy where the first experience really for children of our democracy is, no, you will do this, and you will do this, and you will do this, and you will do this. I mean, I think if I'd been independently wealthy, my one regret is I would have started a free school, a democratic school, for my kids to go to. But I think these things require a lot of money and energy that I didn't feel I had at the
They
time.
do, but you know what's the most important thing is this. I often think of this is that the most important thing I think we can do for our kids, if they grow up in a home, a loving home, that's it.
Yeah, I
That's
do.
it. Loving home like that, because the world is always going to be hostile to you. You're going to go out there, you're going to meet bullies, and you're going to get screwed around. But as long as they come home to a loving mother and father who hugs them and, you know, isn't like on their ass the whole time, like, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
That's the greatest blessing, is a loving home. But not all people who have kids know. I've seen some bad mothering, man. Like, I'm not a woman. I can't be a woman.
You're not?
I can't.
You can these days. You can make. You know, it's all possible.
Well, you know what? Like, I would disagree, but
Right.
I've seen, you know, women give birth to children and be awful mothers. I'm like, you are the principal caregiver to that child, and you're the cruelest human being that child knows. I'm like, how can that be? I'm lucky. I have got a good mother. My mother truly, she's very motherly, right? Not just to me, but to other kids, like to my cousins, nieces and nephews, and all of this, and their grandchildren. And not all women have it. Not some, or not just like not all men are fatherly, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're reminding me that I must go and hug my kids.
Yes.
It's been, you know, we've had. I mean, I've filled multiple pages. Mate, we should have you on again for another long chat at some point. I want to give you a chance before we run out of time, just to plug, you know, where if people want more of Imran, not just the comedian, but the social commentator, the man who's making a positive difference, how can they get involved? How can they find out more about you?
Oh, you will just Google me. If you ImranYusuf.com is my website. I'm going to the Leicester Comedy Festival, and on the 14th of February, which is Valentine's Day, I'll be doing my show Soft Jihad, which is a phrase that I quite enjoy saying out on stage, because as with the rest of Islam, you know, words like Islam and Muslim have been portrayed very negatively. No thanks to the right-wing media, but also no thanks to the bad apples in our community that have been a liability to the rest of us. But the word jihad doesn't mean violence and war. It means to struggle, to persevere, to do the right thing in the face of difficulty. And sorry? Ganbaru. Yeah,
Ganbaru in Japanese.
Is that soft jihad is you know, I come from a people who were subjugated by the British Empire, and we're here now. We're on the Death Star, right? We're here, and I feel that I'm a good thing that I'm here.
Yes.
You know, I'm not a liability. I'm not trying to break things up or make things worse. I'm trying to make them better, right? Even though I'm here, that I've come from a people who are subjugated, had to learn the language, had to jump through the hoops. But at the same time, I'm still my religion. I'm still my ethnicity. I'm still my mother tongue. Those things are virtuous and they're good. And we can learn a lot from, you know, that jihad isn't this one-dimensional violent thing. And soft jihad is by me being an asset to society.
Yes,
I am evangelizing to the world that at least how I practice Islam, right, and the kind of Muslim that I am, and the name Imran Yusuf and the word jihad are positive, good things for the world. So I'm sure this is being picked up by Mossad and by GCHQ.
Yeah.
right now.
Well, as I always say, I mean, the people working for the NSA keeping us free, we really appreciate the effort. We know it's long hours away from your wives.
Yes,
It's so
banning
like,
TikTok.
yeah, it's everything you do to keep us free. We're very very grateful because we want to stay free. Don't lock us up. Don't lock us up, mate. I think you're a definite asset.
Bless you. Thank you. As
for
you are.
soft power. Thank you. Well, oh gosh, Leicester Comedy Festival. Yeah, because I'll be doing my special extended comedy booby trap on February the 16th, also at the Leicester Comedy Festival. So maybe
All
I'll
right, great.
see you there. Fantastic, nice one.
Yes,
Yeah,
enjoy.
great. So ImranYusuf.com. Everybody, please go and check that out. Yeah, like thanks to Imran, and just for all the listeners, remember you can support the show by going to patreon.com/comedians on, where any level of support will help you to help us continue to produce this show. Please do follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you again real soon. Thanks, Imran, for coming on.
You're welcome. It was lots of fun.